Now, there are many cases where you need to execute some sort of commands or maybe a shell script on the virtual servers that you have provisioned with Terraform. And this is just one of the examples of executing commands on that EC2 server that we just provisioned by passing in the user data as sort of initial data to be executed on the server. And many of the cloud providers like AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, and so on, they actually support this attribute to hand over basically some initial execution commands or maybe a file, a script file here for the created VM to be executed. However, it is important to differentiate here again that all this data or these commands or script to be executed will basically be handed over from Terraform to the cloud provider. So once the EC2 instance is created by Terraform and Terraform gets a status of EC2 created, it basically returns the status to us. And we see that in the command line as everything was created successfully and the output. However, Terraform doesn't wait for the virtual machine to be initialized. So basically, Terraform's job is done at this point. And once the server gets initialized, the cloud provider, in this case AWS, will then execute these commands on that initialized server. So this is how it works. So basically, Terraform doesn't have any control over what's going to happen next or how these commands will be executed. And if one of these commands actually fail and, for example, Docker run doesn't work because Docker wasn't properly installed or some permission error, whatever happens there, then Terraform will not know anything about the error. So we won't get that information without SSHing into the server and then debugging it. So that's important to know that even though we're able to pass on the data or initial commands to configure the server, it is actually not in Terraform's control anymore. Now, with that said, there are still ways to execute commands, execute scripts from Terraform. And it is important to mention that because Terraform has its own concept of provisioners for executing commands and scripts on virtual machines. And it's good to know what these concepts are, how they're used, and what it's about.